So Donald Trump is considering whether he's going to go talk to Special Counsel Robert Mueller. Apparently his lawyers are split on this issue. Ty Cobb thinks that he should go talk to Mueller and cooperate with him fully and get the investigation done as soon as possible because Donald Trump is innocent. That's a good one. Anyway, all the other lawyers for Donald Trump are saying in unison, no, don't go to talk to Mueller. And the New York Times has the story, and as you'll see, there's a good reason for him to duck. Lawyers for President Trump have advised him against sitting down for a wide-ranging interview with Special Counsel Robert S. Mueller III, according to 4 people briefed on the matter. Let's find out why. His lawyers are concerned that the president, who has a history of making false statements and contradicting himself, could be charged with lying to investigators. Yeah, that'd be a good reason not to talk to them. And will he lie to Mueller? That's an absolute certainty. That is more certain than E equaling MC squared. Has Donald Trump ever gone 2 sentences in a row without lying? Or contradicting himself, or both? So the lawyer's advising him to restrain himself and basically tie him up, make sure he doesn't go anywhere near Mueller, I think are correct, so I hope he doesn't listen to them. In fact, Donald, who's smarter, you or your stupid lawyers? Donald, who's smarter, you or Mueller? They're saying Mueller's gonna outwit you. Is that possible, Donald? That someone could outsmart you when you got a 30 out of 30 on a test that tells you whether you have dementia or not? I mean, come on, don't listen to your lawyers. You got this, dog. Ty Cobb's one of the greatest hitters of all time. He knows what he's talking about. You go follow his advice. Anyway, their stance puts them at odds with Mr. Trump. Yes, okay, who has said publicly and privately that he is eager to speak with Mr. Mueller as part of the investigation into possible ties between his associates and Russia's election interference and whether he obstructed justice. And that's because Donald Trump knows something that they don't know. He's got this, dog. I don't know if you know, here, in case you don't know it, I apparently have to remind you. Oh, I have to guess now because I don't have it in front of me.
You're a pirate.
Nope, not that one.
You know, I'm like a smart person.
There he is, he's like a smart person. What else do you need? New York Times continues, Mr. Trump's penchant for bravado has been a factor that his lawyers must contend with. The president has bragged to some aides that he would be able to clear himself if he talked to Mr. Mueller's team. And in fact, Donald Trump has said publicly, quote, I'm looking forward to it, actually. This is why Donald Trump beat George W. Bush in a poll that we had as to who was dumber. Because at least Bush knew that he wasn't that bright. Trump really thinks that acing a dementia test means he's a very stable genius. This buffoon thinks he's smarter than Robert Mueller and would, in the middle of an interview, convince Mueller that he didn't do it. He'd just talk him into it. Oh, please try, Donald. Whatever you do not listen to your advisors. They don't have your best interests at heart. You, on the other hand, can convince all those prosecutors that you didn't do it. Good luck with it. Hey, and by the way, if you didn't do it, what do you have to hide, right? Here are people counseling otherwise. So New York Times explains, it would be certain to prompt accusations if he doesn't do it, that the president is hiding something, and a court fight could prolong the special counsel inquiry, casting a shadow over Republicans as November's midterm elections approach or beyond into the president's re-election campaign. So that's another good reason to do it, because it will cast a shadow, and you might have to face a grand jury, which would be even worse for Donald Trump. Now, refusing to sit for an interview opens the possibility that Mr. Mueller will subpoena the president to testify before a grand jury. There it is, setting up a court fight that would drastically escalate the investigation and could be decided by the Supreme Court. So, look, it could go either way. His advisors are saying on a political front, maybe you could just stretch it out and until Mueller's investigation becomes untenable and they can't ever talk to you, or it creates a constitutional crisis when you don't listen to a prosecutor. And by the way, you must, because of the Nixon tapes, we came to the conclusion, which should have been obvious all along, that the president is not above the law, and if he has a subpoena, he must actually go and follow through on it like any other citizen would. So if he doesn't, that would create a constitutional crisis, and we don't know how that would wind up. But in all seriousness, I think that Donald Trump should speak to the prosecutor because he has legitimate questions to ask, and it's true. If he really didn't do it, then he doesn't have anything to hide. I tend to think that his lawyers are right, that he's not going to help himself in those cases. Part of that belief rests on the fact that I think he does have a relationship with Russia. I think it is financial, but that's the whole point of the investigation. And if he really is innocent, then maybe Ty Cobb, his lawyer, is right that he should go talk to Mueller and clear it up and say, look here, I don't have any financial ties, I didn't do anything for the Russians, etc. And only Donald Trump would know that, so it makes sense to talk to him. But one last note of caution comes from Donald Trump's friend Newt Gingrich, who said, the idea of putting Trump in a room with 5 or 6 hardened, very clever lawyers, all of whom are trying to trick him and trap him, would be a very, very bad idea. In other words, they are clever, and I'm not convinced that he's a very stable genius. And so that could be a recipe for disaster. So either way, it doesn't look good for Donald Trump, but for the sake of the country, I hope he does go testify one way or another so we can get at the truth and either have a conclusion that where the prosecutors do actually find out that he did something wrong, or a conclusion where they find out he didn't. But either way, have a resolution. And for the rest of us, also a bit of entertainment, because that testimony is going to be outrageous any way you slice it. If you want to get the whole Young Turks show every single day, become a member, tytnetwork.com/join. And once you do, you'll be saying,
You know, I'm like a smart person.
or you might say,
I think it's weird.
or you might say,
oops.
No, that won't be that one. It won't be that one. It'll be great, trust me. tytnetwork.com/join.